Buildaid Media, powered by builders and supported by Mix 93.8 FM and SA Garden and Home, are proud to bring you this Homeowner Workshop series. Throughout this series, we will be showcasing a wide variety of industry specialists to ensure a positive building experience. In this episode, Cobus Lourens from Swartland discusses wood and aluminium windows and doors, their benefits, energy efficiencies, and maintenance. Your host is Graham Alexander from Buildaid Media.
We also have Cobus here from Swartland. Now, Swartland in the building industry is similarly a brand that's been around a long time. And Cobus is going to talk to us about both wooden windows and aluminium windows. Where is Swartland based, your company, and where do you have branches?
Originally, our head office is 100 kilometers outside of Cape Town direction, Namibia, in a town called Mariesburg. In the olden days, it was an old junction town. Now we've got factories in an industrial area that's about 40 kilometers outside Cape Town called Atlantis. So between Atlantis and Mariesburg, we've got all our factories that make all our different products that we offer.
Let's get on to wooden windows. And this might sound like a silly question, but what is it made of? You know, are there different kinds of wood and bad wood and good wood?
Well, that's quite a interesting question, because there's a lot of noise around the sustainable harvesting of timber and rainforests as such. So the main thing is we have to have sustainable timber. So it's important that you look for sustainable timber that comes either out of a plantation, and there are markings involved like FSC markings. And then we get plantation timber that's also sustainable, but it comes down to the use of tropical hardwoods. And a hardwood is a wood that's got a leaf, not a needle. And
we mentioned earlier, a few minutes ago, that when you're building a home, you need to get involved. You need to talk to people like these companies. Use Google and get into it. When it comes to your product, your company, and somebody needs to get advice in the planning stage, generally that it should be the architect, because he has all these regulations to comply with. He also wants to design a beautiful home. But if the homeowner, before they even get to talk to an architect, do you have that backup to assist?
Yes, Swartland does not sell directly to the public, and there's often a misconception that we distance from the public. However, we've got a division there where we employ 3 architects in the company, and they're just there to help consumers on a daily basis, and a vast range of technical specialists that can assist the consumer to make the right choice. And on that level, there wouldn't even be price involved. It would be a fit for purpose, the correct product for the right use. So yes, we can help there, and we welcome the public to contact us before they start digging around.
We're going to chat about glazing with Kevin in a minute. But double glazing is something that's still a little bit of a grey area when it comes to homeowners and even some architects on its affordability, etc. But one of the misconceptions, I think, is that double glazing only fits into certain frames. Can you put double glazing in a wooden window frame?
Most certainly. In the 17 years I've been involved with Swartland, we've been fitting double glazing. There are various size frames available, and you can do it.
Looking at window frames historically, aluminium windows and more recently UPVC windows, you know, you can picture them coming glazed with seals and everything wrapped in a plastic bag ready to be installed. If I look back at wooden windows, I see them more on shelves, which I know they are still. But you guys are also making a window now that comes glazed and finished.
Yes, Swartland and a few other joinery companies are also offering the service. Swartland's been a pioneer in that range we call Ready to Fit, where we make sure that the standard of finish, we glaze the window, we seal it correctly, it comes wrapped up in a plastic bag, and it can be installed. And you basically get a furniture grade finish, just to make sure that the consumer gets what he pays for.
With installations, do you have specialist fitters? How do people go about installing your product?
Traditionally, a wooden window would be built in during what they call wet work. But since we've done the ready-to-fit range, it can be retrofitted, and if you contact us, we've got approved installers that can fit the product for you throughout South Africa, Botswana, Namibia, Mozambique.
Cobus, when it comes to aesthetics and style, I guess architects would like to think that a UPVC or aluminium window could all play a similar role, and that's probably true. But are there places in architecture and design where wood would probably fit better?
Most certainly. Beauty is obviously in the eye of the beholder, but there's certain styles that loan themselves more to wood, not only for the natural look or the warmth of timber, but sometimes the sections also appeal to that particular style. So most certainly there are specific styles that are probably more suited towards wood.
If you're buying a wooden window off a shelf, I'm sure it comes with some kind of treatment. The windows that come glazed as a complete unit, how are they finished?
Well, over the years, the finishes or coatings on timber windows have advanced and become good and better over time. And nowadays, when we seal the windows, we actually use water-based sealants, which are more eco-friendly, and the longevity of it is incredible, and it's amazing. So if you buy a Swartland ready-to-fit window, it will come in a water-based finish.
Maintenance, I think this is somebody that, and I know in architecture myself, is a lot of people ask the question of maintenance. And again, there can be a lot of misconceptions. And I think maintenance can also be driven by poor quality. But if we're looking at a wooden window, a Swartland wooden window, how would you maintain that frame?
Graham, normally when it comes to maintenance is very much linked to application, how it was applied and what was applied initially. Now, we have solvent-based sealants that go on, and we have water-based sealants. But I think there are two main things that the consumer must look at and must consult manufacturers of coatings and manufacturers of wooden windows to get the exact advice, because there's such a lot of home remedies and things around. But there are coatings around, water-based coatings and sealant coatings, solvent-based coatings, that if applied correctly, you've got no more maintenance than a simple wipe and recoat system. But if you do not do the right things, it can become a nightmare, but really it doesn't have to be a nightmare.
When it comes to energy efficiency, it doesn't matter which frame you have, your solar heat gain is going to depend on the design of the window. But the frame plays a role with regard to conductance. And as I mentioned, if you hold a steel rod in a fire, it's eventually going to warm up. It's the heat traveling through the frame. And wood is quite a good insulator.
Well, I think your example of holding something in the fire, a lot of, I mean, you can take a stick out of a fire that's burning and your hand won't burn. So wood, that's what makes it the high insulating ability. And another example is you can sleep under a cardboard box and you'll be warm. I think something is very important for the visitors here today. Things that definitely go wrong on building sites that we visit. Most of the doors we manufacture are engineered. It's a structure of a whole lot of timber combined together. Now that is sometimes frowned upon. However, that's the international standard, and that ensures that your door won't twist and warp, because the hardwoods available to the manufacturing industry nowadays aren't the same as those of 50 or 70 years ago that offer rigidity. And then one more thing is when they do build homes and they going to do doors, they obviously come into a frame. And a very, very good practice to follow is to use a door frame with a sill or threshold on the outside. It will give you good levels on the inside, and it's just best practice to do it.
Types and brands. You have, and I think up on the screen in a sec, you have a few brands. I would guess that maybe the type of section or something varies, but just an overview of what are we looking at there with those three products?
Well, we've got three price ranges, and within those ranges we have various. Like the KO would be an entry level range. There's a hardwood offer and there's a pine offer. Both those ranges in KO, you can either get as a raw window, unglazed, or you can get it glazed and finished. We do extensive amount of those windows in gap housing or entry level housing. Good quality window, well finished. It's just a thinner section. The Winsters is more mid-range window, and also comes in either a raw product. It's still the biggest selling window, wooden window on the South African market, and you can get it finished. or you can take it raw. And then the Cape Culture is our flagship wooden product, and even that is diversified in various different section thicknesses in the Cape Culture, and obviously either comes unglazed and as a raw window or finished.
Aluminium windows have been around since the beginning of time. Steel windows were very popular, and the lady in the audience mentioned that her home from early 1900s had steel windows, and I guess right up into the 80s, so everybody used steel windows. But then aluminium sort of took over for decades as the sort of default window frame.
Yes, you actually left out a bit there between the 80s and now. I still had hair in the 80s, then something happened. And we're talking about aluminium now, but wood had really experienced a boom down the time over that period from the 80s until quite recently. It was mostly because of the styles that were involved. Now, I think aluminium is in its boom time now, with the styles that are the more contemporary, modern styles that are predominantly used. And I think aluminium is now stronger than probably ever before. And it's become substantially more available and affordable than it was 5 to 10 years ago.
I think everybody sort of imagines what aluminium looks like, this sort of dull silver color. But it comes in many different colors and finishes.
Yes, there's been a lot of advancement there worldwide in terms of that. Initially, one could just get your natural anodized and bronze anodized finishes. In the green world, anodizing is fairly frowned upon, and it's becoming less and less prominent, and big advancements being made. Peter also mentioned the powder coating of aluminium. And with powder coating of aluminium, you can basically go anywhere with color. And a lot of manufacturers can do aluminium for you in any color that you want.
When a homeowner and an architect get together and decide on aluminium as one of their window, they can come to you, send you the drawings and so on, and you would work everything out, including energy efficiency and obviously a price. Would that price also include installation, or would it depend on the...
That would, the way we quote, we usually separate the two. It depends on the builder that you choose, how he would, whether he wants it installed by someone else, or whether he's got the ability or capability or knowledge to install it. However, we have a campaign going now, and our visitors today all received a brochure, a Swartland brochure that kind of encapsulates it, where we take your hand right from the beginning and we walk you through the process. So irrelevant whether a builder builds it in or an installer installs it in afterwards, we'll be there every step of the way to make sure it's done properly and in line with legislation, and to protect you in that sense. Usually, if you follow that route where you walk with a manufacturer from the beginning to the end, you tend not to have problems, and you will have problems if you don't do that.
And aluminium, from a conductance point of view, it conducts well, which makes it a poor insulator. Because remember, we were saying if you held something in a fire, you would feel that heat coming up. But in some aluminium frames, not all of them, you can put what's called a thermal gap. And without being too technical, what does that do?
Well, basically, you want the aluminium substrate, the frame, to give you some type of insulating property. And the way it is, on its own, the traditional aluminium and the run-of-the-mill, the majority, the conductivity is not good. So by basically inserting something inside the frame to give it a bit of a break, will actually make your conductivity or your heat gain less. So you'll get not the same as you'd get in PVC or you'd get in wood, but you would increase it. But then again, you could also play with your glass to give your entire window a little bit more energy efficiency. So it's not doom and gloom for aluminium, if that's what you want to know. There are ways, and as you go thicker with the sections, the performance increases.
I think as Cobus has pointed out, and Kevin's going to help us with it in a minute, is you can't look at just the frame. The window is a system. You know, it's got glass in it, it's got a frame in it. It's also part of a whole lot of other energy regulations, like insulating your roof and that. And the architect has to look at that holistically. So talking about just the frame, it's just a part of a much bigger picture. Standard aluminium frames. Could I walk in a builder's warehouse and buy a frame?
Yes, that's in the last 10 years, the industry's changed tremendously, where you would build a hole and a guy would come and measure the hole and he would come build the window according to the hole and come install it. Now, thousands and thousands of windows are sold daily off building merchant shelves, and people are building those in themselves and not necessarily being installed by a manufacturer. The industry's changed tremendously in terms of that.
Finishes, we mentioned powder coating, and Peter mentioned foils that could be put onto UPVC. Do you put foils onto aluminium as well?
At one stage in the industry, it used to be done, and it's not something that's as prominent at this stage available in the market.
With your brands, you have one brand called Kenzo.
Yes.
Is that a ready-made, off-the-shelf product, or is it? Could it be a custom-designed product?
Well, at this stage, Swartland's been had the Kenzo brand for 2 years, and it's in an incredibly fast-growing phase. It's still a juvenile brand, and at this stage, we offer the basic entry-level ranges of windows, basic catalog selections, and basic doors in frames, folding stacking doors, and sliding doors. So most 99% of aspirant homeowner, you will be able to get the selection in the Kenzo range. It's readily available, got stock levels throughout South Africa in branches and distribution centers, and we can get product to you very quickly. Places like top ends of Namibia can, in less than 5 days from ordering, if we haven't got stock in Namibia, you can get a delivery ex-Cape Town. Or Botswana can get deliveries 3 times a week ex-Joburg.
Yeah. Another thing about a window frame is you need to open it, and there are different opening types and sections, and hardware, as it's sometimes referred to, the handles and so on. So when you're looking at quality, we said look at the price, look at who the manufacturer and the brand is, but there are a whole lot of bits and pieces that hold this thing together and make it work. And you guys might chuckle on my next statement. Even if you, when you buy fold-away doors, folding, stacking doors, do not buy poor. You shouldn't buy poor quality in the first place, but don't buy poor quality when it comes to those. But just a couple of things to remember as you go out and start planning or building your home. Right up front, we showed you there's no such thing as a building rate per square meter. Buildaid has estimated the costs on over 16,000 homes in the last 30 years, and we've never had two come up the same. There's no such thing. But when you start out, unfortunately, it's sort of all you've got. But you need to get some advice from people that are qualified to give you the advice. And if they're saying, listen, allow around 9,000 or whatever it is, but you need to go into a project with a realistic budget. You can't say, here's a 4 million rand home, everybody can see it's 4 million, and you're going to do it for 2 million. It won't happen. A lot of people try that. In fact, most people try that. It can't work. Don't take advice from the wrong people. You can get advice from people like that. They know what they're talking about. Before you employ the architect, you're allowed to go and talk to 3 or 4 of them. They're not going to charge you. They're trying to get your contract. Employ the right architect. Firstly, employ him to do his job, and then have a chat to a few. It's like lawyers and doctors. You've got to feel comfortable with the person you're working with. Use technology. Make sure your architect uses technology, and go and have a look what's out there. If you haven't used or played around with a program called SketchUp, Google it. It's called SketchUp. It's for free. You'll be amazed what you can do putting concepts together. Use specialist contractors and suppliers like the companies we're looking at here this morning. A kitchen company, get them involved in the beginning. You can't start moving the kitchen around when the roof's on, because now the sink's in the wrong place, the plumber's got to move the pipes and so on. Spend time with a company like Easy Life Kitchens. They're there to help you, and it's for free. and they'll help you put this thing together. We were talking to the chaps from Easy Life Kitchens at one of the other seminars and on the radio, and they said that more than half the projects that they undertake, the roof's on and they've started plastering. That's insane. Take some time. Use specialists. Calculate the costs accurately before you go and get a quote. So the architect, hopefully a quantity surveyor or a company like Buildaid. Buildaid has a service that can estimate your costs. Estimate the costs and say, okay, now we agree this thing is 2 million rand. Then find a builder that's going to do it for 2 million rand. Don't go to tender and give it to the lowest guy. If someone comes at 1.5 million rand, it would be completely irresponsible to give him that job. You know it's 2 million. Where's he going to find the other 500,000? Employ the right contractor. He's the guy that you're going to spend the most time with, more time than your architect. You need to understand each other, like each other, and enjoy working together with each other. And then finally, use a contract and write everything down. Put a contract together and agree with everybody up front that everything's going to be in writing. Because over the 5-month period of contract, you said, I'm sure I told you to oil that thing or move this here. 5 months later, might change. And when budgets get a bit tight because we haven't planned quite right, things can change for other motives.
Thank you for joining us. If you would like to watch any more of the workshops in the Homeowner series, follow the Buildaid YouTube channel or visit our website, buildaid.co.za, where you can find a full range of our product offering. To book your seat at our next workshop, visit caxtonevents.co.za. Don't forget to tune into Mix 93.8 FM Wednesday evenings from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. to listen to the Buildaid Show.